Good day, I'm Dr. T and welcome to my office. Today I'd like to talk about assignment upload folders. Okay, assignment upload folders. A bit on the technical topic. So just kind of some background. Presumably you know what I'm going to be talking about, but if you don't, here's what's going on. The learning management systems, I use D2L. To the best of my knowledge, all of them are going to be pretty much equivalent, a little clunky, but can do most of the same things. In the learning management system, you should be able to create a folder where each student can upload an assignment to. Typically, it's going to be isolated, so they can only upload to kind of their personalized version of this folder. You can see all the assignments that are uploaded, but they can only see theirs. Good old FERPA. Or alternatively, you might be able to set it to a group where a group of students can see one folder, they can upload to the folder, they can see what's in their group's folder. And the reason you'd want to do this, of course, is if you want to have an assignment that's turned in as a file. So the classic would be like a lab report or an essay. It would be a document, and then they can upload the document. They don't need to print it out, do anything like that. It's nice, digital, works great. Make the learning management system actually do its job kind of thing. Now, you don't have to do documents. You could do things like photos. I do photos fairly often, or other, whatever works well for your assignments. The reason I like these is, one, I don't want to deal with paper. This way it's uploaded to the learning management system. It deals with it. There's no papers for me to lose, no papers for me to shuffle around. It's just up there and I can engage with it. And typically these are going to be creating this kind of nice one-stop shop for this topic. I can create a grade for it in the grade book. I can link the grade to the assignment folder. I can create a rubric. I can link the rubric to the assignment folder. And so then when it's time for me to grade, they've uploaded their assignment to the assignment folder. I can then pull it up. Certain file types, I may even be able to have it display in browser, so I don't need to download it from the learning management system. I can just look at it and engage with it there, pull up the rubric, pop in the rubric scores, type out any feedback I want, publish that information to the student. It propagates to the gradebook. The student can see the comments and the rubric. Nice one-stop shop, works wonderfully. Okay, wonderfully is an exaggeration. Like most learning management stuff, odds are things are going to be clunky in this case. Rubrics are usually a bit on the clunky side. Everything's going to be a little clunky, but at least it's not paper. And there's no, trying to hand back the papers to the students, none of that kind of hassle. So really, really helpful. Plus, there's a couple of extra features with this that make it much more valuable, especially in the 21st century or post-2020. Typically, you're going to have plagiarism detection software integrated in with these via the LMS. So at my school, we have Turnitin. It's integrated with the assignment folders. And so the goal here is the student uploads the assignment, then the plagiarism detection software scans the assignment, compares it to its databases, and looks to see if there's any questionable content, anything that could be plagiarized. And then, at least in the case of Turnitin, it gives you a score and a report. Now, a couple of caveats with this one. One, you want to jump into the settings. I discovered this kind of the hard way last semester, but depending on your software, it may have a couple of different databases, and it may not default to checking all of those. So for instance, I had two students, one copied the other student's work, and the detection software didn't detect it, even though it was virtually identical. They happened to be graded back to back, so it was pretty obvious, like, wait, didn't I just grade this? And the reason the plagiarism detection software didn't detect it is it had two databases. One database for websites, etc., and that it was checking for, but the checkbox to check against other students' submitted work hadn't been checked. I didn't realize I needed to dive down 3 menus deep to find a checkbox to go click it. I just assumed that was on by default. So you might want to check because you might have an important checkbox to go check. If you contact whatever your learning management support group is, for mine it's like the Center for Teaching and Learning, that kind of stuff, they may have some advice on this, on setting it up, etc. Okay, the other caveats are you're going to see a lot of false positives on these. Obviously, they're not perfect. They're going to make mistakes. Some are going to be false negatives. It's not going to flag things that it should have flagged. And in other cases, it's going to flag things it shouldn't. Especially things like citations, if you did a rough draft, if it's a relatively common short phrase. And in your settings, you're going to have some options to be able to limit this. So you can, well, how long does the phrase need to be in order to actually flag as copied? If it's too short, then every kind of cliche turn of phrase is going to get flagged. If it's too long, it's just simply going to be missing things that it should be catching. Likewise, there may be an option to not flag citations. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that it realizes that all the citations are actually citations. I've had students who slightly misformatted their bibliography and, well, it didn't realize it was a bibliography. So for this reason, what you want to end up doing is that if you see a score that's particularly high, they're almost never going to be like 0. You always get a little bit, just a couple of turns of phrase, something very minor getting flagged. So you'll have a bunch of low scores, maybe some zeros. But if you see anything that's particularly high, you don't want to just go based on the score. You don't want to automatically say, well, anything over 80%, you cheated, so you get a 0. You want to be like, okay, anything over maybe 60%, I'm going to go look at the report. Go through the report, figure out why it chose to give it that score. You want to make sure that that is scoring correctly. Obviously, if it's, it's an 80% and it's directly copying, and quite often it'll show you what it's copying from. And if it's clearly the student copied a previous student's work or a website or whatnot, well, you know what you need to do with that student. The other issue I do want to bring up is, especially for things like lab reports, where you maybe have 150 students doing the same activity and then writing about it, there aren't that many different ways to say, add the salt to the water. So you're going to have a lot of overlap and fairly high scores, not because they're cheating, but just because there's only so many ways to say the same thing, and there's a lot of people saying basically the exact same thing. So just kind of a caveat, don't rely on the scores by themselves. Use that as an indicator to say, I need to look into this more and figure out what's going on. Then, after you've looked into it more, make your decision as to what to do with that particular assignment and that particular student. Another setting I found to be particularly helpful is the ability to limit file types. So quite often we'll want students to submit a file, but we'll want them to submit it in a particular file type. Potentially something like a PDF or a .docx, or if it's maybe a spreadsheet activity, we specifically want it as an XLSX. So in that case, obviously you've told the student. But what I found is that there's a non-trivial number of students, it's a minority, but it's a non-trivial number of students that don't really understand file types. So I might say, upload this as a .docx, but instead I get a .pages. I'm a PC guy. I can't open a .pages. I don't have access to an Apple computer. So this creates a bit of a problem. I can't grade their assignment. Additionally, especially with a lot of these proprietary file formats, specifically dealing around Apple computers and Apple products, the plagiarism detection software won't be able to read it either, and it won't be able to scan that as well. That's a little too easy of a loophole to get around the plagiarism detection software. So what I recently learned about and absolutely love implementing is the ability to have the LMS restrict the file types. That way, if a student does try and upload a .pages, then the LMS will be like, no, we're not going to take a .pages, error. And then the student either realizes, oh, I tried to upload a .pages, I need to upload a .docx, or the student is very concerned that they can't upload their assignment, they email me, and then I walk them through. It's like, oh, looks like you're trying to upload a .pages. You need to upload that as a .docx. Here's a link how to set your computer to save as a .docx. This saves a lot of headache on my part because I would get, the files uploaded, say Monday night, Wednesday morning, I'm getting ready to start grading them, or Tuesday afternoon, or whenever. I grade the first 5 or 6, and then I get to the 7th person's, and it's a .pages. I can't grade this, so I'm going to have to ask them to re-upload it. Probably give them a 0 temporarily. There's a bit of drama going on over here. Of course, between when they uploaded the .pages and when they re-upload a file I can actually read, that's been a few days, so they've got some time to make edits and change things. So that is a way of gaming the system. So that's not something I'm cool with. And then once it's uploaded, I get to regrade it. But by the time it's been uploaded afresh and I'm able to regrade it again, then a fair amount of time has passed. And you really want to be grading, especially more subjective things, all relatively close together. That way you can be much more consistent, and this takes us out of the grading cycle. Not to mention, just kind of wastes everyone time. So, by having the LMS flag this in advance, it streamlines the effort, less drama, works fairly well, and limits somewhat unethical abuses of this particular system. Okay, other settings, well, really getting the things integrated. By having them integrated, it really makes your life nice. Once again, D2L is able to show me a bunch of the file formats in browser, keep them entirely on the LMS, and it's not something I have to worry about. You will be asked about a few settings, such as do you wish them to be able to upload their files after the due date. That's going to be up to you. Usually I do. Usually it flags it like, hey, this is 2 hours late or whatnot. And then I can like, okay, well, you upload your file, but it was a month late. I'm not grading this. I'm sorry. But at least they're able to upload it, and it doesn't get into weird dramas of like, okay, well, you need to upload it by the deadline. Like, okay, I had this problem. They uploaded it 1 minute late. They can't upload it. They contact like, okay, I've got it set, so you can upload it. You need to upload it the next hour. Hour and 15 minutes later, they try and upload it. It doesn't upload. So then you move the... I've been in this loop before. Just let them get it up there, and then you can argue about it later. But that way, at least it's in, and you can argue. If it has the option to allow students to delete files after they've uploaded, turn that off. The issue here is, student uploads a plagiarized file. They then get caught. They then delete that file, and then you have no evidence against them. This way, it's on there. They're stuck. They're busted. Typically, what I will say to students, though, is if you want to upload the file again, as long as it's before the due date or reasonably close within the grace period, then I'll just read the most recent one. I won't look at the previous ones. And that works out well for everyone typically involved. There's also settings of like how many files they can upload. I usually just leave that as unlimited. Once again, just allow them to upload a fresh copy if they discovered they have a typo on their file, or they made a mistake, or they upload the wrong version, or just flat out the wrong file. But otherwise, works pretty good. So I hope those are a few ideas. The assignment folder is really a valuable tool within your learning management system, and one that you will wish to take advantage of. So with that said, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in later videos.